why are you continuing to push out music that poisons the community?
I don't feel like our music part of, if you're speaking about me in general, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like I have kids of my own. My music don't make my child go do nothing unrespectable. I think respect comes at home. You can't dictate what I do on saying my words have something to do with his kids and how he controls his life. Controlling his life gonna start with his parents.
So we all can agree that music is very influential. Even though
life in general is influential, okay. Not just music. You talk about life, getting up every morning, feeding the children, feeding the family, going to work, getting at work. If you ain't got that, you gotta go get it how you get it. So you can't charge it to with a microphone in his hand. You got all kind of substances in life, man. It's weird out there. It's really up out there. You gotta be conscious about who you are and raise your kids to be better than you.
Now, with that issue, the issue with that is, okay, I could come from a good background, all right, and have both of my parents, but at the end of the day, the music, the exposure to the music that is being put on the television, as far as what's being...
I have no control of that, homie. Okay. What they put on TV.
All right,
not at all. I have no control of what they put.
You know, when it comes to hip hop, I think that we all have to look in the mirror and take some responsibility on, you know, where it's at and maybe where we are as a society too. So, you know, what Birdman said, you know, he's defending himself and he's defending his era. I get it, I understand it, but I think we got to dig a little deeper into the issue and the conflict that we have with hip hop and reality. So Birdman represents an era of hip hop where, you know, controversy was sold and dysfunction was monetized. And especially in the early 2000s where there was a lot of beef music going on, and that, you know, led to selling records and saying things and doing things that, you know, you probably normally wouldn't hear or do from an artist. You know, perhaps like Jay-Z and Nas, like Jay-Z going at Nas's kids. And then we spoke on the pod, I don't know, it was about a month ago, about Jay-Z and how he views diss music and how, you know, he's rethinking, is it good for hip hop culture now? Maybe back then it was okay, but now is it okay? That was a question that we had then. But the industry rewarded chaos because chaos sold. And today, no different than today with chaos. It streams. There's a saying in the newsrooms. There's a saying in radio too. In news radio, if it bleeds, it leads. So people love controversy and people love blood and guts. People love violent movies, violent entertainment. They love all of that stuff, man. But specifically when it comes to news, the controversy is always going to sell. What is the percentage of news shows or news reports that begin with something positive? I want you to think about that. The next time that you watch the news, like watch the news for a week, just for a week, and mark down everything that they start their newscast off with. The first story that they started off with. In the fight for people's attention, like, you got to grab people by the throat. Like, not literally, of course, but you want people's eyeballs on what you have. And usually people, you know, when you're driving, this is why we have bad traffic all over the place, because people can't mind their business. Because when you got traffic, it's usually a car wreck or construction or something going on, and people looking, people taking their time to not concentrate on the road, but to look at the car crash, to look at the controversy that's going on. So it's kind of human nature. It ain't just hip hop. It's news, it's everywhere, it's everything. But this is where the accountability factor comes in. Who is to blame? Is it the record labels for pushing it out? Is it the artists themselves for not switching the subject up? Because literally, we've been talking about the same things in hip hop for the last 35, 40 years. Of course, there are different perspectives and struggles of being at the bottom, working hard to get it out the mud, and getting on and shining or whatever. And then you get caught up in some bull, you go to jail, you come back out, and the cycle repeats itself. But we've been seeing this same story, that same thing we've seen for the last 35, 40 years. When are we gonna switch it up, dog? Who is to blame? Is it the people? Is it the fans? Because ultimately it's a business and they're in the business of selling records. And you're only going to give the people what they want. Like fans have to have accountability too. And this is why I began with we all got to look in the mirror and take accountability for what's going on, for where hip hop is, for where our young men are. Because to me, it's it's of the utmost influence in young people. And this is where the original argument is in this conversation. Because the person that was in the video challenging Birdman was asking him, why are you making music and pushing music that's detrimental to our community? Birdman responds and saying, well, I think that other things are more influential than hip hop music. Like everyday real life is more influential. Okay, bro, but that's just brushing it to the side. Of course, our everyday lives and what's in front of us is always more influential than music. But to deny the role that music plays and how it influences our attitude, some of our decision making, and some of the lifestyles that we live, it you have to be oblivious and it's I think it's irresponsible, totally irresponsible to just ignore the fact that and to me, I'm speaking specifically from kids and young adults from ages, 12 to 22, 23. When it's really it can be older than that. But really that range of age of people who I'm talking to, because that's really the age of where you're of discovery and you're finding yourself. And a lot of people find themselves in music in the wrong path though. Some people think they're drug dealers. Some people think that they need to continue that evil cycle of doing that. Some people think that they're the tough guy. So they feel like they need to shoot it out. They feel like they need to carry a gun with them all the time or whatever. And yes, I understand and get, dog, that we are talking about what's going on in the hood. But when are we going to stop talking about it and do something about it, dog? But adding to the cycle of violence and perpetual poverty that our people are locked down in. But of course, there are exceptions to the rule when it comes to this, and how talking about your struggle and talking about making an impact on your community can be a beautiful and big thing. But very few people are doing that. People are bastardizing hip hop and making a profit off people's pain. Let's keep it real, dog. A lot of these dudes out here talking about some bullshit, perpetual bullshit that means nothing and that does nothing. But I'm talking about kids who are the most influential in listening to this bullshit and taking it as real life. I know y'all said, this is Brian B. Shiner saying this from Hot 103 Jams or whatever. They play this, they play that or whatever. I want you to take a look at my show, Hustle and Shine in the Morning, and see how many times that I actually am talking about music or talking about entertainment. We have a segment called TMG that, yes, we have that we do have our little entertainment portion of the show. But the base of my shows for the morning show have been community based and trying to help Kansas City out. That's the base of it. The community has always been the base of whatever I've done at Hot 103 Jams. But that's why, again, I began at the top. I said we all need to look in the mirror, because not only have I worked at the radio station and have played some of these lyrics, but I have partaken in hip hop myself just as a consumer, as a fan, and as somebody trying to make a living, somebody who's DJing. Yes, I have partaken in some of the detrimental lyrics, but that's why I feel like I'm the one to talk about it and speak about it and having a respectable perspective about everything, because it is well rounded on both sides. And y'all, we got to look in the mirror, man, and see and sense that what we've taken in, what we've been listening to, is a whole bunch of trauma, dog. We trauma sharing, trauma bonding. which is okay and it's fine to let these things out, but it has to have a purpose, dog. We can't keep talking about how we want to go around and shooting people in the head and want to kill your family and want to make money selling dope because people are really taking this stuff and living it and doing it. But I do know that we have to recognize and know the problem first is some of the lyrics and some of the things that we have in our music, they are not good for our community, dog. Bottom line. Hip hop is and always has been built on authenticity. But now it seems like these days, like it's like the authenticity stopped meaning like honesty, if that makes sense. Like it's like fake authenticity that people are spewing on, and now it means like recklessness, toxicity, trauma, um, self destruction, crash outs, and it's like the younger generation, man. They see performance as reality in some sorts. Live streams, they consume these lyrics, IG stories, arrests, arguments. It's like if you're not really doing that to some kids, then you're not really living your lyrics. And therefore, I can't even really listen to you. I can't watch your streams. I can't take you serious. So it seems like that there's no separation between entertainment, marketing, identity, and real life, and everything became content. So if you ain't really about that life, and that just fuels people to be dumbasses on the internet. That fuels people to act out, to take things to the extreme because you ain't getting enough views now. Now that you're acting normal or being regular or whatever, you're not getting enough views. What you're doing ain't enough no more. You got to take it another level now. That's what all of this stuff leads to, unfortunately. It can be a long, ugly road down to a road of destruction. But I think the question that remains with this, with hip hop and reality, is does art imitate life or is life imitating art? Because what the hell is real anymore? All right, y'all, that is the pod for this week. Thank you so much for tapping into Brian's World. Please like, subscribe, review, rate, like, share at Foolish Club Media, all on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. And of course, while you're at YouTube, browse on over to the Brian B. Shining YouTube page at B. Shining so you can check out Brian's World. Every single episode drops there. My Hustle and Shine in the Morning content, R&B Shining, Motivational Minute. I got what you need, man. Everything I do content-wise is at the B Shining page on YouTube. Well, I appreciate y'all tapping in this week to the pod. The pod that I'm dropping in 2 weeks is going to be very personal. It's going to be very different as I celebrate. I know this is going to be odd to some people, but I am going to be celebrating the death of my father. It'll be the 20-year anniversary of that and the 20-year anniversary of me being at Hot 103 Jams. So I'm looking forward to next week's pod. It's going to be totally different than what you see here. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to share it'll be kind of like my life story with how my father's death is so tied to that radio station and how it's affected me in my life. Can't wait for that in 2 weeks. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please be a blessing. And of course, Chiefs Kingdom, mount up.
Shut up.